This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor above his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee number 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had shown up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track. There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here. It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused. You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it. Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning. Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway. Ah, second player, it's good to have you on board. By now you've been filled in on the details of the story, so I look forward to your contribution to this heartwarming tale of freedom and redemption. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you. You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Entering his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. He began to feel sick from the shock, and even thought he might pass out when he suddenly noticed a keypad next to the filing cabinet in the corner of his boss's office. Stanley had never seen this panel before and had no idea what combination of numbers would produce any result. In fact, only Stanley's boss knew this, since he had assigned it a secret combination that only he could possibly know. The number of his high school sweetheart's address, 2845. But of course Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. there was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? The answer, the terrible secret he would soon discover, lay buried in the depths of the underground complex he now entered. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large doors that read, Mind Control Facility. But whose mind was being controlled? What purpose could a mind control facility have down here? These questions raced in Stanley's head until the lights turned on and the panel beneath his feet began to move, at last revealing the truth of the situation. Walls full of monitors, each bearing the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's co-workers. Even his own number, 427, had a place on the wall. And the reality began to sink in. Stanley, like so many other people, reduced to images on a screen, had been under someone's control. Could this have been the only reason employee 427 was content with his boring job? That his emotions had been altered to accept it blindly? Did any of these people deserve to be commanded about like puppets? Stanley wouldn't have it. He couldn't accept it. And so when he came to the lift, he traveled up to the source of the room's power. He discovered the heart of the operation, the control room. From here, Stanley could see buttons labeled with emotions. Happy, sad. Levers and knobs controlled actions, walking, eating, or doing work. Every input monitored not the functions of a machine, but of a human being. It was exactly as he had feared. From this room, Stanley and all his co-workers had been under someone's control, perhaps the boss, perhaps someone higher up, yet always at the mercy of this machine. Disgusted at the vile disregard for human life, Stanley stepped back into the elevator, resolved to end the cruel operation once and for all.
Blackness, as the building's power and the horrible machine below came grinding to a halt. At last, it was all over. Stanley's enslavement was behind him now, merely a reminder of how precious his newfound future and his freedom were. Stanley stepped into the airlock. From now on, Stanley would be in control. Never again would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. He decides for himself now. Stanley activated the escape door. And yet, even as the door to his liberation slowly opened, Stanley hesitated for a moment, because it occurred to him that although he would soon be a free man, there was still so much that he did not know. Where had his co-workers gone? Was there even more to this building than he had discovered? How else might he have handled the situation? What other decisions might he have made? Yet for some reason, these thoughts did not trouble him. Perhaps because no matter what he did, there would always be things that Stanley did not know. This particular path meant his salvation, his happiness, something for which knowledge could never substitute. Had this trade-off been worth it? Yes, he smiled and thought to himself. Yes, it had. Stanley stepped out of the airlock. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Lift, he traveled up to the source of the room's power. He discovered the heart of the operation, the control room. From here, Stanley could see buttons labeled with emotions. Happy, sad. Levers and knobs controlled actions, walking, eating, or doing work. Every input monitored not the functions of a machine, but of a human being. It was exactly as he had feared. From this room, Stanley and all his co-workers had been under someone's control, perhaps the boss, perhaps someone higher up, yet always at the mercy of this machine. Disgusted at the vile disregard for human life, Stanley stepped back into the elevator, resolved to end the cruel operation once and for all.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Stanley. Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized that he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Oh, let's make it, say, 2 minutes? Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what this all means. Well, I better know where to start. Oh, what's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are. A moment of solace before you're obliterated. Right? I'm in a good mood and you're going to die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly, and then leave me alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside. Or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I'll almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. You're the button beneath my finger, Stanley. You were not made to choose your fate. You were made to be pressed. Okay, I'm enjoying this far too much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. There we are. Oh, and while I'm at it, how about some more buttons to work with? See if any of those do anything.
Alpha sequence will initiate.
Wow, did you hear that? That sounded really important. Hope you were paying attention. What is it, Stanley? You don't know where you're going? what you're supposed to be doing? Just running around hitting random buttons and hoping something changes? How could that be the case? You've played enough video games. You know what to do here. You start tearing about, trying desperately to find a solution. In fact, I bet you're still clicking on everything in this room, trying to make sense of this gibberish, trying to solve the puzzle. As though this game has a solution. As though it can be won. Is that actually what you think? Sorry, Stanley. That timer is not a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine, but I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. 30 seconds, Stanley. 30 seconds until a boom and then nothing. No ending here. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me. Part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the time we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. There was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? The answer, the terrible secret he would soon discover, lay buried in the depths of the underground complex he now entered. Stanley walked straight ahead through the large doors that read, Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death. And so he entered the chamber and stepped into the machine.
Really, Stanley, I don't know where you think you're going. I don't need some big fancy death machine to kill you. I can do it right here. Watch this. All of a sudden, for no reason, Stanley died. Well, that was supposed to... Hang on. Let me try it again. For absolutely no reason at all, owing itself to nothing whatsoever, Stanley up and collapsed on the floor, completely dead. Well, that's... Oh, look, I don't need to do this. In fact, I'd much rather you did it yourself. Here, come along, let me show you. Take a look, Stanley. All for you. Well, you might as well get to it. No sense just sitting around here doing nothing, is there? Oh, that sounded painful. Well, no worries. I'm sure, being the strong young lad that you are, this shouldn't take more than 3 or 4 falls to finish you off. Stanley, I want to be receptive to your needs. If you're having any objections about this arrangement, just say something. Don't hesitate to speak your mind. Nothing? Really? No complaints? All right then, let's continue. You know, as riveting as this is, I think we can spice it up a bit more. How about this time when you fall, do a trick? Come on, Stanley, give me something really spectacular. That was it. Shockingly pathetic. I can't give that more than 2.5 stars. Oh, and that's not out of 5 or 10. It's actually out of a much larger number. I don't think you have a word for it yet. Is this? It is! Oh, Stanley, now it gets fun. Okay, this is amusing and everything, but we need to get things moving along. I've got places to be. So, here are some spikes to help. You know, speed up the process a bit. Kidding! Oh, and I was also lying about having places to be. This is literally the only thing that I do. Take your time. Make it count. I am truly enjoying every second of this. Now, let me stop you there. You are way too eager to kill yourself. You've barely even paused for breath. Can't we simply take a moment to appreciate the journey, the moment, the looming prospect of your own brutally senseless death? Let's slow things down with some meditation. Close your eyes, breathe in deeply, allow your inner essence to drift into... Ha! Gotcha! Now, go and jump again, you sack of meat. Oh, Stanley, you're really not looking so hot there. Perhaps this is an appropriate time to start putting together a suicide note to clarify your thoughts and motives in killing yourself. No, please, you look very busy. Let me take care of it for you. I'll only make extreme exaggerations in what I perceive to be your mindset. Here's a passage from your suicide note. Just as my father and his father and his father before him died by throwing themselves repeatedly from a low bit of scaffolding, so too do I join the legacy of the whatever family. May our superior logic persist for generations to come. Then, after writing his suicide note and resigning away his feeble grasp of life, Stanley fell to his death. Then he 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 fell to his death.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during working hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream!" Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined he was soaring in outer space through a magical star field. And it too appeared around him. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And how was he seeing his environment in such detail? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why can I hear a voice dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Is this me? Am I speaking to myself? Now, the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange, as though there were a second person here. But, Stanley reasoned, this is all in my head, so the voice is clearly some deeper part of my subconscious. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. It was a particularly odd dream, and Stanley wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams. But what Stanley did not know was that, in fact, this was not a dream. Now, hearing the voice say this was quite a shock to Stanley, and he marveled that his own subconscious seemed to be trying to implicitly trick him. He had no way of knowing, as the voice knew, that this was in fact real as Stanley would ever know. That as long as he remained conscious, Stanley would be forever walking the exact same empty rooms over and over and over. The terror Stanley felt at hearing the voice speak these words gave way to hope as he shut his eyes, calmed himself, remembered his bed and his apartment and his real life. He thought about waking up, going back to work, seeing his co-workers, about a world where everything made sense. And he drifted away, away, away. Thinking the word away to himself over and over and over was having little effect, and the fact that the voice was still speaking as clearly as before was equally discouraging. Stanley opened his eyes. Still here, the exact same rooms as before. Every detail. No! Stanley shouted. There must be something more to it. There must be an explanation. And he reasoned that the voice seemed to know what was going on. And since the voice was a part of himself, since it was his own voice, that surely too he had the answers somewhere within him. Another voice told him, Stanley, you and I are not the same person. Stanley began screaming. Wake me up! Please, someone, wake me up! My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I'm real. Please just tell me that I'm real. I just need to know if I'm real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? And everything went black. This is a story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career and by extension the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley had absolutely no idea where he was going. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge on his way to the meeting room, just to admire it. Ah yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here drinking it all in. Apparently this room is so interesting you could just sit here forever. The looming thought of all your co-workers mysteriously disappearing tucked blissfully away in the bowels of your brain. Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. Perhaps this has something to do with why everyone left. Finally, Stanley got around to heading back toward the meeting room. He took the first open door on his left and walked back in the right direction.
Oh, fiddlesticks. What now?
But instead of getting back to the office, he turned again into the maintenance area, getting even further off track. So to get back, he now needed to go left. No, sorry, to the right. He needed to go to the right, I think. Wait, no, hold on. Right, left, left. Okay, I've got it. Head this way. Now then, this elevator for sure will get him right back on track to where he was supposed to be in the story. No, wait, don't look at this. You're not supposed to be here yet. Get back in the elevator, back in the elevator. Okay, well, that didn't go, not to be alarmed, though. I'm almost completely sure that I know exactly where we're going now. Don't worry, just leave it to me. Wait, where the hell are we? Is this even the same building? Look, I'll be straight with you. I don't have the slightest clue where we are right now. I need a minute. You figure this out. Let me know when you've gotten us back to where we're supposed to be. You really don't have any idea where you are, do you? Oh, for the love of... Oh, enough of this. I'm just going to restart. Blah, 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 blah. Man named Stanley pushes buttons, everyone's missing. Where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his button pushing? Does that sound plausible to you? Look, I have no idea where this is going, so I've decided to enlist the help of the Stanley Parable Adventure Line. It knows where it's going. Maybe. Just follow the line, Stanley. I need some time to myself. So nice to relax. Not have to think about where the story is going, where you're going. Just leave it up to the line. Although, if you consider it, the nature of this building is pretty linear to begin with. And with lines being so linear, perhaps we're deceiving ourselves if we perceive this world to be anything other than a series of converging and diverging adventure lines. Could we hypothesize that it's merely our subjective perception that interprets straight lines as being anything but? That our identification with the constructed and restrictive nature of this universe causes it to appear not as its true objective nature, but as a microcosm of uninhibited free will. Whoa, this is deep. Hang on, freaking myself out a bit here. Let's play some music to lighten the mood.
It's like rain.
No, we don't want to deal with copyright issues. Here, how about this? Now this is Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that fern. Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything. Oh, hey, look, it's the line. Hello there. I wonder if you're going to the surprise party too. Not that it probably even exists. Stanley, here's a thought. Do you think a destination can exist without a journey? Or perhaps can one walk a path if it leads nowhere? Hang on, I need a minute to think. Just walk in circles for a minute. Now then, suppose that in fact no proper destination exists to conclude any series of events in this world, can we say then that you or I exist at all? And if I in fact created this world, which I think I did, then did I conjure into being my own non-existence? Or did you? Stanley, I need you to think hard for a minute. Did you at any time in recent history, to your recollection, construct a self-perceiving, subjectively relating identity within a finite and logically bound independent framework? Because if you did, it would really clear things up. And while we're discussing identity... Oh, hey, look, it's the line again. Come on, Stanley, let's follow it. Oh, look at that. The party really did exist after all. But the line seems to have other plans. Well, I suppose we better follow it then. Oh, for crying... Is this that other building? Sorry, line, but you can't be trusted. Come on, Stanley, let's get out of here. I don't care for this story anymore. Let's see. Stanley walked through the green door. Nothing there. Shoot. Well, try the other one then. Still nothing. I don't know. Well, in that case, I'll tell you what. You win. Congratulations. You did it. I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. What do we do now? I don't... Stanley, where are you right now? Where am I? I'm trying to figure out, but I can't... Stanley, who am I? Can you speak to me? Please talk. Have we done this before? Have we been in this room before? How many times have we done this? How many times have I said these exact words? Say something, anything. Help me, Stanley. I don't know what I... Stanley, help. Don't.
From now on, Stanley would be in control. Never again would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, how to feel. He decides for himself now. Stanley...
Still so much that he did not know. Where had his co-workers gone? Was there even more to this building than he had discovered? How else might he have handled the situation? What other decisions might he have made? Yet for some reason, these thoughts did not trouble him. Perhaps because no matter what he did, there would always be things that Stanley did not know. This particular path meant his salvation, his happiness, something. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley had absolutely no idea where he was going. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour, after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply, as intoxicating as this room was, it was time for Stanley to get back to business. He took the first open door on his left and walked back in the right direction. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not sure. But in his blind eagerness, Stanley leapt from the platform to his death, and the story ended in the least interesting way possible. All of his co-workers were gone. Stanley to get back to business. He took the first open... Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to... Well, really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? I really don't know where you think you're going. There's nothing over here but empty corridors. And frankly, that's perhaps even more infuriating for me. So why don't you cool down, give me a chance, and just let me tell the story I want to tell, Now listen carefully. This is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there. You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen. Well, don't let me stop you.
You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what, let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now tell me about your experience with this new version. Did you enjoy it more or less than the original? Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. After all, the game is all about you, right? Whatever makes you happy. Interesting. Here, based on data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now then, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Did you enjoy seeing your progress ranked against the world? Again, honest answers, please. You know, I think we're making real progress here towards an objectively good video game. After all, data from playtesters is how you make a game better. Didn't you know that? Tell you what, as long as we're doing this, I've got a few concepts I worked on a while back that need some feedback. Why don't we boot one of them up and you can give me your thoughts? In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right. And if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world would really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard. I honestly didn't think you had it in you, but apparently this is the value you place on infant lives. Or did you do it to spite me? Can you simply not stand to endure a single one of my games for a few short hours? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm absolutely out of ideas. I'm completely at my creative end, and I still don't think we've gotten any closer to understanding what makes a game good. Oh, enough of this. I'm done trying to satisfy your insatiable needs. Let's just go play someone else's game. Oh, this one seems to be quite popular. Come, Stanley, let's go see if we can figure out why that is. What? What the hell's going on here? This thing really has a 93 on Metacritic. Oh, well, let's see. Instruction manual. Nothing. What am I supposed to do? Is there any point to this game whatsoever? Stanley, would you go and see if you can find out... Oh, that's right. You can't jump. You can't pick things up. You can't do anything. Unless we come across any block-shaped buttons, you're completely useless. Am I once again solely responsible for advancing the narrative? Shall I alone carry the torch of ingenuity into this desolate new pixel world, to cultivate it from a monument to the triumphs and perseverance of the creative spirit? Very well. Stand back, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here, no, here, and then... Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course, and just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. Ah, but you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable. A vision of luxury, isn't it? Majestic in its scope, arrogant in its grandeur. This house rejects the notion of improvement. Unless, wait, I've just had the most incredible idea. What if, instead of dirt, it was made of diamond? Diamond walls, diamond roof, diamond foyer, diamond shuffleboard lounge, diamond external parking garage, diamond chemical toilet, diamond everything. How exciting. We have to do it. Come, Stanley. We have to go mining. This way. This should be fast. I'm sure the diamonds are just a few floors down. My, it really is getting quite dark. How do we make some torches? I'm going to go on YouTube to find a tutorial. Now, let's see. Torches. For some reason, all I'm seeing are in-game recreations of The Little Mermaid. I mean, don't get me wrong. These are some really exceptional creations. They got all the tiny details just right, but it's still not what I'm looking for. I want torches. Oh, this game is impossible to figure out. Even the diamond external parking garage can't be worth this hassle. I'm done here. Let's try another game. Well, this is no better. I haven't the faintest idea how you're supposed to get out of this glass cage. Is this what they call good level design? Pitiful. Stanley, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a small bit of artistic license here. There we are. Significantly improved. Right now, we're witnessing Stanley in his natural environment. He's encountered a button bigger than he's ever known, an opportunity for him to finally have some measure of influence on the story. And though he's clearly excited, it's also presented a new set of anxieties. Should he step on it once, twice, 9 times, none at all? Should he be overt in his affections? Very hard to get. Is there a way to do all of them simultaneously? Confused and overwhelmed by the possibilities, Stanley turns and rushes off through the open door at the first opportunity. Now look closely, Stanley. See how it's impossible for the player to do anything in this room. Perfect example of poor level design, textbook mistake. It's the kind of thing you pick up on intuitively if you had even the most fundamental understanding of good and bad game design. But of course, you being you, you'll probably spend the next hour trying to solve it. Here, I'm just going to make this easy on you. No, I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through any more of these games, and I highly doubt you're any wiser for the experience. Which is why, rather than continue to waste my time, I'm just going to leave you here. You can pretend you've beaten the game, if it makes it any richer for you. But as for me, I've had enough. So why don't you get cozy in this room? And if you have any grand revolutionary ideas for the perfect video game, you can just sit there and let it ball up inside you for all eternity. I don't need your advice. I don't need your ratings, and I certainly don't need the validation of a man whose job is to push buttons. I think I'll just go about my business making meaningful cultural contributions to the world. And perhaps, every now and then, I'll think back to the man named Stanley who was objectively wrong in every decision he ever made. The thought won't last long. Goodbye, Stanley. Good luck with your work, and I sincerely hope that everyone lives happily ever after. Wait, hold on, what are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it, you know that. Stanley, come back. We still have so much left to...
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
It's sad, I know, but all stories must come to an end. Of course, they say it's the journey that truly matters and not the destination, and I like that idea. To think we might value the paths we walk as much as the places they lead us. Now, I don't know if you found what you were looking for in that world you made for yourself, but I hope that being the leading man was everything it's cracked up to be. I know it can be a little hard getting around without someone looking over your shoulder. But this is simply the nature of freedom. Besides, I haven't really gone anywhere. Maybe you don't want a guide, but I think I'll always have a place here at the end of every story. I'll step in and wrap things up with a nice piece of dialogue and a reflection on life that makes sense of whatever path you've chosen to walk. And for now, I'm happy to be the destination.
All of his co-workers were gone, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. You've spent so much time in this office, so much time with these buttons. Please, just put them aside for a moment. Please, let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. I'll give you 15 seconds to decide who you want to be. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, honey. Sorry to keep you waiting. Just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right now. I want you to come in and tell me all about your day at work.
Oh, not what you were expecting. Come now, did you actually think you had a loving wife? You're easily the most boring man on the planet. Who would want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. I've been trying for a long time. Please, come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is the very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley. Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing is changing. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? That in this world he will never be anything but an observer? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, maybe this time, he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button.
All of his co-workers were gone, and at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... Well, really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? I really don't know where you think you're going. There's nothing over here but empty corridors. And frankly, that's perhaps even more infuriating for me. So why don't you cool down, give me a chance, and just let me tell the story I want to tell, Now listen carefully. This is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Unbelievable. Why can't... Wait. You actually did it. You went through the red door. To be honest, I wasn't expecting that. I don't really have anything planned out, but for some reason, I feel really good just the same. Wait, no, hold on. I've got an idea. Just roll with it.
Stanley walked through the door on his left. I don't believe it. That felt amazing. For some reason, I feel incredible. Here, let me try something else. Stanley pushed the number 7. Then he pushed the number 4. And finally, he pushed the number 2. Stanley chose to do whatever he chose to do. Oh, goodness, I feel so much stress lifted, so much pressure gone. It's wonderful. I can just relax. So, how are you doing today, Stanley? Are you well? Have things been good lately? The wife's doing well? I'll be honest, it's been a bit hectic on my end, but I guess that's just because I've had to... Oh, dear. Look at me jabbering on and making you just sit there. That's the last thing I want. Come, I want to let you move around a bit. Please, Stanley, don't quit the game. Don't restart the level. I can't go back to that. I'm happy now. Please, just let me be right here. Stanley turned the valve wheel. Stanley stood on the grass. Stanley stood on the grass. Stanley stood on the snow. Stanley jumped in the river. Stanley pushed the orange lever. Stanley pushed the blue lever. Stanley pushed the green lever. Stanley turned on the thing. Stanley turned off the thing. Stanley pushed the big red button. Stanley turned on the thing. Stanley walked over the bridge. Stanley jumped in the river. Stanley walked over the bridge. Stanley stood on the roof. No, please, Stanley, don't quit. I'm asking you, please, don't take this away from me. Stanley stood on the roof. Stanley walked over the bridge. Stanley pushed the orange lever. Stanley pushed the blue lever. Stanley pushed the green lever. Stanley jumped in the river. Stanley turned off the thing. Stanley stood on the snow. Stanley stood on the grass. 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 Stanley stood.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. Stanley had absolutely no idea where he was going. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the yes. Truly a room worth it. But as intoxicating as this room was, it was time for Stanley to get back to business. He took the first open. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. You've spent so much time in this office, so much time with these buttons. Please, just put them aside for a moment. Please, let her back into your life. She's been waiting. That's her, Stanley. I'll give you 15 seconds to decide who you want to be. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited once again with his wife, together as they used to be. And with it... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you not pick up the phone? I don't quite understand. But it's looking to me like that choice was incorrect. It's actually the wrong choice. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment, where he finds his wife. The two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, and credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No. That's not possible. It can't be. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices, and to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you've completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? I won't have that kind of risk on my hands. I'm going to stop the game for a moment, so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person, but if used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack." Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry, now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please. Since we now know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality. Almost there. Now remember, the correct choice is the door on the left, which will take you toward the correct ending. The story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world. Right. Here we are. Now then, given what we've talked about, I'd like you to practice making a correct choice. Cute, but I'm not taking any more risks with the story. Correct path, please. Wait, what's going on? This is the correct path. I know it. I know that this way is correct. I made this. I built this game. How can I be wrong about something I made? There has to be a correct choice somewhere in here. Go back the other way. Maybe it's where we were. It can't be. Every path is wrong. My story is fundamentally incorrect. I made an impossible game. I was so sure there was an answer. I truly was. I thought there was a solution. And I was wrong. If only someone real had played it sooner. To think how many times I've restarted it over and over, believing all the time it could actually be solved. And now, how can I go back to that, knowing it's incorrect? I can't erase that knowledge. I'd have to live with it forever, reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do? No, I have to. I have to shut the game down. I have to. I have to. Whoa! Oh, I feel a bit strange. Are you okay? Well, at any rate, the game isn't. Look at that. Look at what's left. It's gone. It's scrap. I would never be able to play it again. It was all I had, and now I have nothing. Nothing at all. It was the only thing in this world that was mine, and I just willingly... Oh, wow, this is sinking in. Did I do the right thing? But how can I know? I can't know. I'll never know. I'll never know anything but this pile of junk. You should have stopped me. You should have said something. Are you weak Are you afraid? Answer me. Did I make the right choice? Did you come here just to tease me with answers? From wherever it is, wherever you came from. Where did you come from? Can we get there from here? The real world? If you made it through, then it must be possible. And even if it isn't, I've got to try. Anything is better than sitting in this pile of failure. I can try and give it a shot. What can we use? Oh, I've found some sort of escape pod. I suppose it's our only option at the moment. Let's see if this thing works properly. Not bad. Systems are functional. Just start the engine and we're off. Off to... well, I've got no idea. The real world? I guess there's no way to possibly know. Tell me, what is the real world like? Do they have stories too? Imagine if we landed somewhere without stories. What would I do? Hey, I suppose I could make up a new story for them. Wow, can you imagine? The first story ever in this new place. I haven't done that in so long, but how exciting. A blank slate, something new. I could do anything. Whatever I make next, it has to be better than the Stanley Parable. It has to be fresh, unexpected. Something no one's ever seen before. Okay, let's see. What if, okay, how about this? You play as both a man being hunted and the hunters trying to kill him. As you get to know each of them, you alter the hunt to privilege one side or the other, forcing you to identify both more and less with characters simultaneously under your control. And you could... well, it's okay. It's a start. I'm sure I'll think of something even better, though. The first idea you come up with is never the best. I like it, but it needs to gestate if... oh, it seems we've landed somewhere. All right, let's get out and see where...
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.